I think it would be a good idea, and I mean this too. I think it would be a great idea, phenomenal idea, if you would just shut up right now, dude.
I want people to be safe and to be protected, and and I want very much to live on the right side of history. And I'm an immigrant. My parents are refugees from Chile. I myself was a refugee. We fled a dictatorship, and I was privileged enough to grow up in the U.S. And and after asylum in Denmark, and if it weren't for that, I don't know what would have happened to us. And so I stand by those protections always.
Before we talk about how it is that this sort of comment could in fact affect something a little bit later on, I just want you to know right now that it's going to be a little while to get there. So bear with me on this right here, because once again, like I said before, so many occasions, you probably should not be putting your personal politics in while trying to promote films. Just saying. But in the meantime, if you guys can, please consider subscribing and please hit the like button, all that type of stuff there, and let us go ahead and dive into this. That right there, of course, was Pedro Pascal. Now, guys, before we talk about the Fantastic Four, we talk about the trailer that was released, before we talk anything about The Last was Part 2 and Pedro Pascal, I want you guys to know something right now. I decided to name this video, basically insinuate, ask the question, will his comments cause the Fantastic Four to receive the Snow White treatment? And don't worry, we shall get to that in a second. But I want to go ahead and preface this by saying this now. I've done a few videos in the past where I have criticized Pedro Pascal's character, whether it be Gladiator 2 or whether it be his portrayal as Joel in The Last was the first season, which of course was based off the first game, the classic, not so much the second one, which I already know this was going to be a bit of a problem. And I even thought about doing a breakdown on why it is that I felt that this particular season would in fact flop, but of course the numbers are in, and it has done so. Makes me think that maybe part of the reason why it is because they see what you guys are seeing right here in the B-roll footage. I understand that you have to throw some stuff into a mini-series to kind of pad the runtime, maybe add a little bit more story, but I think that the portrayal of Joel in this particular season and the fact that they went ahead and chose to kill him off in episode 2 rather than spreading it out a little bit is probably the reason why it is that so many people have turned it off. Which makes me wonder why it is that Pedro would talk about being an immigrant and basically doing the whole, well, let's just say putting my personal politics and everything. It makes me wonder why he would in fact do this. Now guys, before we get started, I want you to know right now, updates once again at the very end of the video, giving you guys some updates on the project that's going to be coming out. I've chosen to go with this thumbnail here rather than the original thumbnail to that video that should be coming out in the next week or so. I'm done with the script, need to go ahead and go into recording, but somehow or another I chose to just go ahead and start writing on the book versus film version of it, which I'll explain towards the end because one is a Gear Issue 33 version and the other is a Claymore version. I will explain that more towards the end, but let us go ahead and get to this because I don't want this video right here to be too long. But of course, I feel like I needed to get this video out there, and also to go on top of that because it's quite frankly a pretty good indication that Hollywood's not going to change as far as the woke direction is anytime soon. Have you guys noticed that Pedro Pascal has literally been put in just about every single movie out there? Whether it had been Narcos a few years back, which of course I thought that he was pretty good in, or whether it be, I don't know, any of the various roles that he's been given. It's almost like they're trying to get out there that this right here is the type of man that you should be as far as in film is concerned, as far as like masculinity is concerned. This right here is this right here is the model of the new man. That doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for a lot of men. Look, I'm not trying to hit Pedro Pascal as an actor. I can separate acting performances from their personal politics. I'll give you a great example of what I mean. Martin Sheen is an absolute well, not really far left, but he is very, very liberal. I've always liked Martin Sheen's films and his performances, and not to mention the fact that I found out that while he was on the set of the film Gettysburg in his portrayal of Robert E. Lee, he was extremely nice to all the cast and crew. He was actually a very, very nice guy. And of course, to go on top of that, he was also very, very good to the Civil War reenactors. I've met a couple of them. I'm from North Carolina. Trust me, they do exist down here. The point is this right here. You can separate an actor from their politics. However, the thing is this right here. This right here kind of goes back to the good old-fashioned Republicans wear sneakers bit that Michael Jordan had during the campaign of Harvey Gantt here in North Carolina, which is very interesting why it is I'm bringing up my home state once again, because that's where that term came from. Look, we've done the whole shut up and dribble. We've done that sort of thing there, and that right there is not what the hell this right here is. And the reason why it is not is because I think we have proof of someone's politics getting involved in a film and absolutely ruining the experience before people actually got down and sat inside the theater and watched it. We called this with Snow White. And of course, you guys, I got to kind of remind you once again, well,
a narcissist. The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
Okay.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. And then it became like, I will elbow everyone out of the way to play the part. That people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie, right. Andrew Burnap. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
I say, if I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
And we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can.
And guys, here's what the hell is really funny about that situation. I went back and re-looked at some of the comments, and believe it or not, Snow Brown here actually said the type of things that you would want to say to obviously sell the movie. But because she could not keep her own personal politics out of the situation, and of course what you guys saw earlier, and of course you guys are seeing the B-roll footage, some of the positive things that she had said, especially with the captions and whatnot, as you obviously know, people said, no, we don't want to go watch this. Now, most people know Pedro Pascal's personal politics, but still at the same time, though, given the fact that the Fantastic Four franchise is sort of cursed, we'll get to that here in a second, but yeah, I think you guys can see where I'm going. And there's something else, too, that I think needs to be addressed, and it's this here. The current direction of The Last of Us Part 2, the miniseries on HBO, and I mentioned this right earlier, people are cutting it off. People aren't watching it. You guys can follow channels that are much, much more aligned with pop culture, which, of course, mine's going to be here soon, where they look at the actual ratings and they see people just dropping off. And you can blame Bella Ramsey, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think that Pedro Pascal's portrayal of Joel, a traditionally more masculine character, which, of course, he's taken the masculinity out of, is not exactly helping. You would think that this supposed alpha male, or supposed to be alpha male, the alpha male that they're trying to present to us, the audience, which of course, obviously, this right here is the left-wing version of an alpha male, you would think that he would have a little bit more direction, a little bit more sway on where to carry this character, or have more influence on the character. But as you guys can obviously see, with the feminized males like Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann at the head, yeah, it doesn't seem to me like Pedro's even strong enough to stand up to them when it comes to the character he is portraying. So, yeah, I think you guys might see where I'm going with this right here, which is, of course, that, yeah, people are getting tired of the politics. People are getting tired of beta males. They're getting tired of all this bullcrap. So, yeah, I mean, it does, in fact, concern me going into a franchise or a film based on a franchise that is, you know, like I said before, cursed. Yeah, who the hell did not see the flop coming? Yeah, it makes me automatically think to myself that people have had enough of people's political views, especially when it comes to films. Now, granted, he's sitting there with Joaquin Phoenix, and this is another guy who I disagree with on a lot of issues, but I do believe that Joaquin Phoenix is a good actor, and some of his films are quite frankly enjoyable. Yes, I said that Napoleon was absolutely terrible, and yes, I stand by that. It was absolutely terrible, but I do think that the director's cut was at least serviceable, and while I thought that Joaquin Phoenix's portrayal as Napoleon was bad, I will just go ahead and say right now that I did find it to be absolutely hilarious, because the movie was, in fact, hilarious, even though it was absolutely terrible. But moving on. So, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Fantastic Four, the new Fantastic Four. This is like the fourth film. Well, it's actually much, much deeper than that. I'm going to link this video right here from the Critical Drinker in the description box, because he did a very, very good job of explaining the past as far as past projects were concerned involving this film. The Fantastic Four is I would say, a pretty heralded piece in the lore of Marvel. All right, I'm not entirely sure what order it came in when it came to Marvel. I, for the most part, growing up, was a Spider-Man guy. I always loved the Punisher. I always loved Wolverine, X-Men, and Iron Man. But really, outside of that, I never really got any other characters. I, for the most part, was loyal more to one superhero. Before then, that, of course, was Batman. So I have a little bit more familiarity with DC as a whole than I do with Marvel. Just go ahead and throw that out there. And yes, I'll talk a little bit about this when we get to the update section of the video, which will be coming up here shortly, because I'm not going to take very long to harp on this right, because obviously I've made a decision on this channel right here as far as the content's concerned, what we'll be adding, but still the point is this right here. This movie right here, this franchise is a franchise that has flopped. Every time that a movie, or every time that a version of this film, whether it be the Fantastic Four back, I think, in 2000, and then the second film, which of course was The Rise of the Silver Surfer, or the attempted redo that came out about 10 years ago with Miles Teller and Kate Mara and Michael B. Jordan, it seems to me like this franchise, that this particular IP always finds a way to fail. And it's got me somewhat concerned, because even though I'm not a Fantastic Four fan, something about this film right here has compelled me to, when it is released, to go to the theaters and actually see it. I don't do as many movie reviews. I do them every now and again, mostly on a film that I recently saw. I did one where I talked about Nosferatu, and I also talked about Gladiator, because a lot of times I tend to go to the movie theater later on over the course of the year, as like towards the end of the year, because typically fall and Christmas is when the best movies come out. But still, though, the point is this right here. Those reviews are few and far between, but something is compelling me to go watch this particular film at the theater. I think a lot of it's because, based on the way it looks, something tells me that this movie might actually be good. Now, his casting as Reed Richards, okay, and, you know, Vanessa Kirby, okay. I understand that you want to go in this direction, even though to a certain extent I'm kind of like, how many movies are you going to get out of Pedro? Because Pedro is right at 50 years old. All right, he doesn't look it, but he's right at 50 years old. Vanessa Kirby, I think she's getting close to 40. I'm just asking the question, how many of these films do you plan on doing? Or is it a part of the next series of in the MCU? Marvel, by the way, has taken a hit over the years, and I think the last thing that they would need at this moment in time is somebody to get uber political going into a film. Even though Vanessa Kirby, to my knowledge, has not gotten that way, or anybody else has, it just feels to me like, yeah, it's possible that people, or like I said before, people quite frankly are done with this. Which also brings us to the whole topic of woke slop and slop content, which of course Echo Chamberlain did a video on a while back, which I'll probably link in the description box, and of course the mentioned Critical Drinker video, where he talked about the Fantastic Four and how it was a bit of a cursed franchise. It makes me wonder, is it possible that these guys might actually get this film correct and people just simply not show up and see it? I understand that $500 million at the box office, or $400 million at the box office and above, is no small number. It still feels like a bit of a success, but when you compare it to other films that have made, I don't know, 600, 700, 800, and into the $1 billion range, it seems to me like, yeah, it's not as much of a success. I have said before, and I mean this right here, and I remember talking about this when I talked about the movie The First Omen, which came out back in 2023. I still found it to be very, very enjoyable, even though it was a bit of a prequel to an iconic series. Well, the first film was iconic. The rest of the films in the series suck. But still, though, the point is this right here. I feel that Hollywood needs to go back and find their creative roots. And one of the ways that they could do this is go back and, I don't know, maybe create original content, or maybe take old IPs and make them a little bit better. I understand it's remakes, but you can just kind of base it off something and try to actually make better content with not as much money. Once you can kind of reestablish yourself back as far as creativity is concerned, from there, movies might be able to, or Hollywood might be able to save itself. I mean, I remember a while back, Hollywood wanted the American taxpayer to bail them out. This was when Biden was in office. I want to say it was also when Trump was in office in 2020, and they didn't seem to realize that they actually have a built-in bailout, that right there being, well, the movie theaters and people who go watch the films. Yes, I know that streaming and stuff has made it a little bit harder, but still, though, the point is that where people still enjoy going to the movie theater and watching a movie. It's nothing like the experience. It's an absolutely phenomenal experience. I mean, I actually enjoy going. The cost of everything is kind of high, but still, the point is this right here. The last thing you would want to do is make a movie that is good, that is actually enjoyable. They might even have good word of mouth. However, nobody wants to go watch it because for some odd reason, the lead actor wants to go ahead and piss off half the damn people who might want to go see the movie. I just figure I would throw this right here out there as food for thought. So the question then becomes, will it get the Snow White treatment? I would not go that far. However, what I would say is, once again, it is not a good idea to piss off potential would-be moviegoers before they actually get to the theater and watch the film. Especially given the past history of Fantastic Four films, which, of course, as the Critical Drinker pointed out in his video, seem to be a little bit cursed. I just figure I would point that out. So, Pedro, please do us all a favor and shut the hell up. And with that right there, my friends, still like, share, subscribe, all that type of stuff there. Let me go ahead and give you guys a couple of very quick updates, and I'll go ahead and bounce for the day. And here are those updates. Now, I've already talked about the first video essay that I plan on doing on Full Metal Jacket, which, of course, the point of the film, the purpose behind what Kubrick was actually trying to say. That video will probably be coming out as an on schedule. Of course, I'm probably going to upload it probably Saturday or Sunday. And, of course, it's probably going to need to go through a week or so of copyright claim background checks. But, of course, that video is going to be on its way here soon. In the meantime, though, I'm still going to release, obviously, videos like this right here. They're going to be a fewer and far between, maybe 5 a week, 1 a day, maybe one on a Monday with none posted on Tuesday, but then like 2 on Wednesday and maybe 2 on Friday. I do plan on releasing one on Friday. It's going to be relatively sizable on the whole RG3 Ryan Clark beef, which of course is still going on and still building at this moment in time. And I may get one released tomorrow on the whole situation with Jake Tapper, but I thought about doing that more in video essay form for the history channel that I plan on creating, which is going to focus primarily on the media and crime and mystery, stuff like that there. Just give you guys a heads up on that. However, there is one more thing that I have highly considered incorporating into the channel, because it's going to be focusing more on the topic of morality and what should be done. And, of course, it's going to be getting much, much deeper, especially we're talking about the films and stuff. I was thinking about throwing in character analysis on this channel here, too. You guys give me your thoughts on that there, because, obviously, I just mentioned Pedro Pascal and him playing Joel in The Last of Us. That's kind of where I'm going at. The choice, was he right? The character analysis, stuff like that right there. You guys just give me just give me your thoughts in the comment section. And of course, I'll keep you guys always posted like always. With that right there being said, still please like, share, subscribe. I'll see you guys later.